Boker Tov. So I'm here in the Beit Knesset of Beit Chagai. This is the little yeshuv that we're zoicha to be protecting. And I wanted to share with you a beautiful teaching from Rav Nevenzall. And this week's Parsha that I took from their base Medrash, it's a really beautiful one. So he says like this. We know that Rachel, Imenu, she takes the truffin and she sits on the truffin. The pasuk writes, "V'Rachel lachat hatrafim v'tismem b'achar gamel v'tashev aleim." Rishis lamed aleph lamed aleph. Why did she take these truffim? Actually, I was learning Zachariah last night with my chavrusa, and we saw that truffim seemed to be used to predict things in the ancient world, like an oracle. So she's sitting on these truffim. So Rashi and other commentators explain that she didn't want Lavan to have the superpowers of these truffim. So she, like the truffim had, GPS, and that way he'd be able to track Yaakov Avinu. And so she takes the truffim. But in that case, why didn't she just dump them, right? If she doesn't want her father to be tracking Lavan down, so just throw them, on the side of the road. Why does she have to keep the truffim? And why does she have to sit on the truffim? So, on the simple level, she's sitting on the truffim just to hide from Lavan. But explains Rav Nevenzall that there's more than that going on. It's actually not just Rav Nevenzall, it's based on the Zohar. She was trying to mevatel the koach of the truffim. She's trying to nullify, say that I don't care about these idols, these sorceress powers, and by nullifying them, by disgracing them, they lose their superpowers. And that's how it worked in the spiritual world. When you disgrace these things and say, they don't really rule the world, they actually lose their kochos. Now, I don't understand these Kabbalistic matters, but that's what the Zohar says. Wow. So what does that have to do with our lives? So much. We know when it comes, for example, to Chometz and Pesach, Min Torah, bittul is in your head. If you nullify, if you say this food, this Cheerio, this pizza is like the dust of the earth, it's actually lost its koach. No longer deraisa are you violating the law if you have that pizza in your house. Through being mevatel it in your das, then you get rid of its koach. The same thing with avodah zarah. Being bittul, but in your das actually gets rid of it. We know your das is very powerful. The Tanya often talks about how just thinking one thought can create the most holy ore in our soul, and chas v'shalom lehefech, one negative thought. So, bittul of the chametz, bittul of the avodah zarah symbolizes the yetzer hara, says Rav Nevenzall. We all have yetzer haras, and what happens is when we're machshiv something, when we give it a lot of attention in our brain, we build it up, it suddenly becomes a big deal, and it's very hard to overcome that desire that we're trying to overcome. But when we mevatel it, when we break it down, we realize this isn't really such a big deal. And we understand what its essence is, and we don't look at it with respect and love, we actually take away its power. For example, if Nevenzall talks about a drug addict, the first time when you're looking at that drug, it just looks like an external thing. It doesn't have any koach, it doesn't have any power. But once you decide to embrace the drug and then think about it, and then it becomes kind of a little bit of a obsession. So the more you're machshav the davar, the more powerful it is, and the harder it is to overcome that taiva. That's why the Gemara says in the end of days, tzaddikim are going to look back at the yetzer hara and say, how did we overcome such a mountain? The Rishayim are going to look at the yetzer hara and said, how do we give in to such a nothing taiva? And the answer is, it's all dependent on our thoughts. Since tzaddikim weren't mityaches to the yetzer hara, to our desires too much, we don't think it's the end all, so therefore it doesn't have control over us. And that's true with the yetzer hara. It's also true with the yetzer tov. We'll end with the famous story of Rabbi Chanina bar Dosa, where in Tainus Daf Chav Hey, where Rabbi Chanina's daughter accidentally put vinegar instead of oil. And she's so concerned, oh no, I'm not going to have my Shabbos candles are going to run out. And Chanina says the one who made the oil burn can also make the vinegar burn. In other words, and so it was. Because Chanina really believed the source of all power is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, so the oil was able to create a beautiful fire. Vinegar was able to create a beautiful fire because he didn't mityaches kochos to the vinegar. He really truly believed that it's all in the hands of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's how the Chashmonaim were able to win their victory despite the crazy odds, because they understood at the end of the day Hashem runs the world. So when we realize the power of our thought, we can create amazing things, and that tzchus will overcome all of our enemies. Bezrat Hashem, with the koach of knowing that it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu that ultimately gives us a strength, and Hashem should give us the right thoughts, should give us the koach to look at things in their proper fashion, and be machshav the right things, be machshav Torah, be machshav Talmidei Chachamim, be machshav a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and when we have those desires, to recognize that's all they are. They're just Yetzer Haras, to break it down, to mevatel it in our das, and in that tzchus to rise higher and higher in our service of God. Have a great day. Have a great Shabbos. Shkoyach to nevenzall for the beautiful insights.